The rain-soaked figure on the park bench clutched a wedding photo to her chest, a single suitcase by her side. This was my grandmother Elena, thrown out of her own home just hours after burying her husband of 52 years. What she didn't know was that my grandfather had left behind a secret that would completely destroy the people who betrayed her. I'm Jessica, and this is how I brought down my own parents using their own greed against them. Growing up, I was closer to my grandparents than anyone else in the world. While my parents, Richard and Monica Hayes, were busy building their luxury real estate empire, Grandpa William and Grandma Elena were building me. Their century-old Victorian mansion wasn't just a house. It was my childhood sanctuary. Grandpa William was a retired district attorney who taught me that justice isn't just about winning cases, but about doing what's right. Always stay 3 steps ahead, Jessica, he'd tell me during our weekly chess games. In chess and in life, anticipation is everything. Grandma Elena was a former English professor whose stories felt like magic and whose homemade bread could heal any heartbreak. 2 years ago, I moved to Seattle for my job as a forensic accountant. During our Sunday calls, I started noticing changes. Hesitations in their voices. Grandpa seemed confused about finances he'd managed perfectly for decades. "Everything's wonderful, sweetheart," Grandma would insist, but something felt terribly wrong. The phone call came at 3:17 a.m. Grandpa had died peacefully in his sleep. I caught the next flight home, my heart shattered into pieces during that endless journey from Seattle to Riverside. I expected to find Grandma surrounded by neighbors and casseroles. Instead, I found her abandoned in Riverside Park, soaked to the bone, clutching her wedding photo like it was the only thing keeping her alive. A neighbor had dropped her off after my parents literally forced her out of her own home. "Your parents said I needed to leave so they could start the renovations," she whispered, trying to smile through her tears. "They said it would be too emotional for me to watch." Renovations. My grandfather had been dead for exactly 6 hours. When I stormed into the house, my grandparents' house, I found my parents hosting what looked like a celebration. Interior designers measured walls while my mother excitedly planned where to open up the space. Fabric samples covered the dining table where we'd shared 23 Thanksgivings. "What the hell is this?" I demanded. My father didn't even look embarrassed. "Life goes on, Jessica. We're just making necessary improvements to our property. Where is Grandma supposed to live?" My mother sighed like I was being childish. "We've found several lovely assisted living facilities. She'll be much happier with people her own age." That's when my father delivered the killing blow. The house was solely in Dad's name, and his will left everything to us. "It's completely legal." That night in my hotel room, Grandma finally told me the truth. 4 months before his death, my father had been visiting alone, always when she was at book club or volunteering. Grandpa became agitated after these visits, saying something didn't feel right about the papers he was being asked to sign. "I didn't want to believe my own son could manipulate his dying father," she whispered. I approached this like any forensic investigation, methodical, thorough, and ruthless. What I discovered made my blood boil. The original deed from 1971 listed both grandparents as joint owners. But a new deed filed just 2 months ago transferred everything solely to Grandpa, with a signature so shaky it looked like a child had forged it. Bank records showed systematic withdrawals coinciding perfectly with my father's visits. Their retirement savings had been completely drained. But the smoking gun came from Judge Martinez, Grandpa's old colleague. "Your grandfather was worried about being manipulated," he told me. "He left this with me for safekeeping." Inside a sealed envelope was Grandpa's handwritten letter declaring any recent documents should be considered fraudulent, plus a USB drive containing secretly recorded conversations with my father. In one devastating recording, I heard my father say, "Just sign here, Dad. Mom doesn't need to know the details. You know how emotional she gets about money matters." Armed with evidence of elder abuse and fraud, I filed for an emergency injunction freezing all their assets. But I didn't stop there. I used my forensic accounting skills and professional network to systematically dismantle their empire. I contacted every business partner they had, sharing concerns about their financial practices. I reached out to investors with pointed questions about certain transactions. I made sure every regulatory agency received anonymous tips about suspicious activity. Within 2 weeks, their carefully built empire began crumbling. Partners withdrew from deals. Banks flagged their accounts. Their wealthy social circle, built entirely on status, vanished overnight. Through it all, I never confronted them directly. Like they had done to Grandpa, I operated in the shadows, watching their world collapse piece by piece. The court date arrived exactly 1 month after Grandpa's funeral. My parents strutted into that courtroom like they owned the place. My mother wore a designer suit that probably cost more than most people's cars. My father nodded to the judge like they were old friends. Their expressions when they saw Grandma Elena sitting beside Judge Martinez and a prosecutor were absolutely priceless. The evidence was overwhelming. The judge didn't just invalidate their fraudulent documents. He ordered a complete forensic audit of their business, froze every asset they had, and referred the case for criminal prosecution. In 35 years on this bench, the judge declared, staring directly at my father, I have rarely witnessed such calculated exploitation of a vulnerable elder by their own child. Outside the courthouse, reporters were waiting. My parents tried to hide their faces, but I stepped forward. This case isn't about inheritance, I told the cameras. It's about protecting our elders from predators, even when those predators share your DNA. My grandfather spent his career fighting for justice. Today we honored his memory. The aftermath was swift and merciless. Their real estate empire collapsed under investigation. Their mansion was seized. Former friends crossed the street to avoid them. The DA pursued criminal charges that resulted in a plea deal, 2 years probation, mandatory community service, and complete financial restitution. 3 months later they came to Grandma's house, properly restored to her name, looking broken and desperate. We've lost everything, my mother whispered. We need help. Grandma stood in her doorway, straight-backed and dignified. Family helps family, she said. That's what William always believed. But then she surprised me. You can stay in the guest cottage, but there will be conditions. Counseling. Volunteer work at the senior center. And you will understand that this house belongs to me, not as your mother, but as William's wife and partner of 52 years. They accepted with the humility of people who had truly lost everything. Today, I run my own forensic accounting firm from Riverside, specializing in elder financial abuse cases. My parents are slowly rebuilding their lives as humbler, maybe even authentic versions of themselves. Our relationship remains complicated. Trust, once shattered, doesn't easily heal. But sometimes when I see them awkwardly helping at Grandma's dinner table, I catch glimpses of the family we might become. Not one built on blood or obligation, but on earned trust and genuine care. The most important lesson. Sometimes to build something strong, you first have to completely tear down what came before. Before you go, if you enjoyed this story of justice and family drama, make sure to subscribe for more real-life revenge stories that will leave you speechless.